I found a text on my girlfriend's phone. If you didn't have a boyfriend, would we get back together? She replied with one word. Yes. I showed her the chat and asked her to delete that guy's number. She impatiently questioned me. He's just my first love. We were just reminiscing about the good old days. Is that not okay? She thought I would still spoil her like I used to and be her doormat willingly. Until the next day, she realized I had moved out of our apartment and blocked her contact. She panicked. A week ago, Leo got drunk and called my girlfriend. So, Lisa left me in a hurry. But that day was my surgery day. I waited anxiously and in pain at the hospital, hoping to see her for encouragement before my surgery. But when I finally reached her, I heard her angrily yell over the phone. Leo is drunk. I'm worried about his safety. Don't call me if it's nothing. Then the line went dead. She was worried about her childhood friend being drunk, but didn't think about how much I longed for her to just say good luck before my surgery. After coming out of the operating room, my whole body felt numb, like the anesthesia hadn't worn off. Looking at the empty hospital room and the empty inbox and call log on my phone, I felt emotionally numb too. I never held grudges against Lisa. No matter how she treated me, I always obeyed her, staying in love like we just started dating. But this time I felt tired. After leaving the hospital, I stayed at a friend's place and didn't go back to the apartment with Lisa. Lisa eventually found me at my friend's house and brought fruits I love and 2 movie tickets. She rarely gave me a way to back down. Usually, even if I was upset, I had to calm myself first, then go and appease her, regardless of who was at fault. This relationship had been like this from the start. At gatherings, friends would joke that I was a romantic fool, but I always thought if I cherished Lisa enough, she would someday understand and appreciate my sincerity. But even when she came to make up with me, she did so proudly. Is this all a grown man can take? Wasn't the surgery successful? Why can't you let it go like before? That's when I realized Lisa probably always understood my sincerity. She knew it but treated it as insignificant, so she didn't cherish it. On the day of my surgery, just before the anesthesia kicked in, I reflected on our 3 years together. As I lost consciousness, Lisa's cruel words echoed in my head again. Don't call me if it's nothing. I finally realized that, compared to Leo, I could be discarded at any moment. Even on the day of my surgery when I was most vulnerable and needed support, even knowing that I planned to propose after the surgery, marking a new phase in our relationship, she still left me for him. I couldn't count the times after Leo entered our lives. Things like this happened. She only cared if Leo was happy. If he got drunk, it was a big deal for Lisa, but she mocked me for not being manly enough when I simply needed company for my surgery. I eventually went back to the apartment with Lisa. I had work to catch up on, and my laptop was there. Once we got home, I locked myself in the study to catch up on days of missed work, until Lisa knocked on the door. Evan, didn't you say you had something important to do after the surgery? I was going to propose, and she knew because I took her to pick out her ring weeks before. That ring was big and bright, just dazzling. I thought it suited her. But Lisa complained that I was too predictable. I always wanted to ensure that gifts fit her taste before presenting them, but it could never compete with the surprises Leo gave her. Inside the study, I said nothing. Lisa continued, if you don't say anything, I'll unlock the door and come in. After this proposal, let's go visit your parents, all right? I reluctantly agreed. Okay. If it were the past, I'd be overjoyed for Lisa to care so much about my proposal. But this time, I had an inexplicable sense of resistance. Lisa asked me to book a table at her favorite restaurant. We agreed to meet after work. But I waited until closing time and Lisa never showed. I worried about her safety, calling several times, but the line was busy. Eventually, I went back to the apartment. Through a door, I heard Lisa singing. Her voice was soft and gentle. Lisa's singing was what first attracted me to her. But once we started dating, she never sang for me, despite my requests. Lisa, when we used to be together, you always sang this song for me. Remember? She was on the phone with Leo. On the other end, I heard Leo's voice, and a notification popped up that Leo tweeted, "Grateful for your voice still around, and you too." He attached a video of Lisa singing. As I saw the post, Coincidentally, at midnight, the fireworks meant for Lisa exploded outside. With a pop, the sky filled with dazzling colors, spectacular as ever. Lisa excitedly announced into her phone, "Leo, there are beautiful fireworks. Let me show you on video." As the fireworks faded, my heart turned cold. All feelings disappeared with them. Late at night, Lisa knocked on the study door. I didn't want to open it, but she kept knocking. I reluctantly opened the door after all. Lisa's eyes were a bit red, as if she'd been crying. She quickly stepped inside, wanting to hug me, but I instinctively moved away. Lisa got a bit irritated. "Evan, what's wrong?" Her phone was still lit up, displaying a chat with a close-up photo of her and Leo. I had once begged her to change the photo, but she argued I was overly sensitive about her past, leading to a huge fight. After that, I never dared to question it again. I thought if I helped her slowly get over that relationship, she'd fall in love with me. I thought everything would pass. But it's been 3 years. I'm honestly a bit exhausted. I can't warm Lisa's heart. Leo's having some financial trouble. Could you help him out? Seeing me silent, Lisa came over and took my hand. Her tone had softened a lot. After all, he's an old classmate of ours. I almost laughed, not even willing to give Lisa a glance. "So on the night I was going to propose to you, you didn't even send me a message, canceled on me, just to appease your first love and sing for him? And after you were all lovey-dovey reminiscing about old times, you want me to help him too? Like I'm some kind of tool?" After hearing what I said, Lisa, as always, was unapologetic. He called me, saying he was in trouble. I couldn't just turn him away, right? I waved my phone around. If he's in such a financial emergency, how does he have the energy to tweet to remind me of his existence? "Lisa, I'm really tired. I have work tomorrow." I pushed Lisa out the door despite her accusing me of being heartless. To make her point, Lisa moved back to her place, taking a lot of her stuff but leaving Denny behind. Denny was Lisa's dog, but over time, he became my dog. If he got sick, I'd rush him to the vet in the middle of the night. I was the one caring for his daily needs. When I used to cuddle with Lisa and the dog, I'd happily think how nice life was, with just the two of us and a dog, even if it was tiring. After Lisa moved out, I patted Denny on the head, and he didn't seem too bothered by it. No wonder, taking care of Denny was always my responsibility anyway. Just as I thought things were calming down, Leo showed up. "As a man, I don't think you should treat Lisa this way." I almost laughed out loud. "Lisa," he said her name so familiarly you'd think they were a couple. "How I treat Lisa is none of his business, especially since I've given all my heart." I started to close the door, but Leo stopped me. "If you don't treat Lisa well, I don't mind taking her back." His words were full of provocation. I shot back, "Something that belongs to someone else, you can't help but covet it." Huh? As I expected, it wasn't long before Lisa texted me saying she wanted to break up, and Leo also sent a taunting message. "She's not yours anymore." I shut off my phone, feeling overwhelmed by the noise. The last breakup with Lisa is still vivid in my memory. It started because I lost a hand-knit bag of hers. I'd bought Lisa countless designer bags, but she cherished that one the most. After losing it, she had a huge fight with me and heartlessly broke up. I thought she'd made it herself, giving it special meaning. So I spent several sleepless nights making an identical one for her, except mine was more detailed and well-crafted, much better than the crude original. When I showed her the bag I made, she looked like she had seen the funniest joke ever and stomped on it. "Evan, don't be pathetic. No matter how well you make it, it's not the same as that bag." She mocked me cruelly and I just quietly took it. Later, I found out the bag was from Leo, which is why she treasured it so much. I realized that no matter how many expensive bags I gave her, no matter how well made they were, it didn't matter. Why was I degrading myself like this? After Lisa moved out, I felt a peace in my heart I'd never known. It was like my heart was still under the anesthesia from that surgery, unable to wake up. Lisa posted about food, and Leo posted about her silhouette on Twitter. They played their little games on Twitter like it was the funnest thing. The only feeling I had was that something was slowly peeling away from my heart, bit by bit, though painful, leaving me with an unheard of sense of relief. until Lisa's mom came with her. Lisa didn't look happy. She must have been forced to come by her mom, and Leo tagged along, probably following Lisa around. Even though Lisa and I had our issues, I had no reason to be disrespectful to elders, so I respectfully invited them in. I gave Leo a dirty look as he entered. Uninvited, without any reason. Lisa wasn't pleased. I'm also the host here, I invited him. I paused. Even in front of the parents who knew about our relationship, she didn't hide her defense of Leo. During dinner, considering Lisa's mom's taste, I made some spicy dishes. When I served the food, Lisa thoughtfully got a bowl of water for Leo, which reminded me that Leo couldn't handle spicy food. It also reminded me of when Lisa used to mock me for being a big guy who couldn't handle spice. To accommodate her taste, I forced myself to eat spicy food, hurting my stomach in the process. But true love doesn't require you to change yourself. Leo could choose not to eat spicy food, and Lisa would naturally prepare a bowl of water for him. But when I needed to avoid spicy food after my surgery, she never took it seriously. Turned out my efforts were just a joke. Leo smiled, pulled the bowl of water towards himself, and pointedly said to me, "Lisa's always been so considerate." Indeed, she was just not towards me. I knew Leo was trying to provoke me by saying that, but I didn't care anymore. After the meal, Lisa's mom insisted she stay. Lisa's mom saw promise in us, so after each argument, she'd play peacemaker, and Lisa would go along. It's a familiar routine. After her mom left, I went to feed Denny as usual. But when I opened the door, Denny bolted out like a shot. On the sofa, Lisa and Leo were laughing about something, clearly disrupted by Denny's sudden appearance. Sensing the unfamiliar and threatening vibe, Denny growled at Leo. Leo laughed, pointing at Denny. "Is this Evan's dog?" His laugh carried a hint of mockery. A dog like him, just like his owner, pushes everyone away. But before he could finish reveling in his own joke, my words were barely out when Denny lunged straight at him, leaving a scratch on his hand. As Leo yelped in pain, I was cheering Denny on in my heart. But then Denny yelped. It was from Lisa kicking him hard, with the high heels I'd recently bought her. I quickly ran forward to protect Denny. He was terrified, hiding under my feet, shaking all over. His eyes were filled with tears, and there was a bit of unspeakable grievance in his gaze. I understood. He wasn't trembling because he got kicked. He was hurt because the person who did it was Lisa, his once beloved owner. My heart ached like hell. "Evan, it bites people. Why are you still protecting it?" Lisa looked at me coldly, like she wanted to devour me and Denny. In some ways, I felt I was just like Denny. At least, with the whole Leo thing, we were both the ones cast aside. Lisa turned away, her expression changing to one of sympathy as she lifted Leo's sleeve. I held back my anger, picked Denny up, and headed for the door. But Lisa just wouldn't quit, following us. She muttered, "You should give it away sooner." Felt like a cold bucket of water splashed over me. The true meaning of despair. Covering Denny's ears, I turned back and yelled, "Lisa, enough." Maybe it was because I had never been so stern with her before, but Lisa looked at me incredulously. Ignoring her gaze, I carried Denny out without looking back. I took him to the vet. Thankfully, the doctor said he was just shocked and nothing serious. On the way back, Denny kept nuzzling his head against my face, sensing something. I tried to smile at him several times but couldn't. My mind was filled with flashes of memories between Lisa and me. "Lisa, she's not worth it. There's no point holding on anymore." When I got home, Leo was gone, and Lisa was in the corner of the living room without any shoes. She ran over when she saw me, trying to take Denny into her arms. But as soon as Denny saw her, he snuggled deeper into me, avoiding her. I didn't have the strength to deal with her. I kicked off my shoes and headed inside. "Evan," Lisa called out, "you never treated me like this before." I chuckled without turning back. "But you've always treated me like this." Once in my study, I opened my phone. A few real estate ads popped up, quite timely. After that operation, I had started looking at houses near my workplace. I hadn't made a move waiting to see if Lisa would completely let me down. Now, all I wanted was to escape the little home I once cherished with Lisa. This time, either my resolve was different, or Lisa couldn't stand it anymore. She walked into the study and lay next to me. Just as she tried to put her arm around me, I turned away. Her phone lit up with a message from Leo, saying, "I miss you." That photo still hadn't changed. It used to feel like 1,000 needles stabbing me, but now it just seemed ironic. I grabbed her phone, opened the thread, and scrolled up to see just how far this had gone. Casual chats, but the eagerness to share was obvious. Leo was everywhere in Lisa's life. I had just blinded myself to it. Scrolling further, I found a heart-wrenching message. "If you didn't have a boyfriend, could we get back together?" Shameless and disgusting. Lisa's short reply stunned me. Yes. That message was sent just before Lisa told me about breaking up. She seemed guilty, reaching for her phone but kept her cool. "Evan, let's not fight, please?" I sneered and showed her the chat. "Fine, then delete him." Caught. Lisa impatiently questioned, "He's just my first love. We were just reminiscing. What's wrong with that?" I agreed. If it's so wonderful, why reminisce unless you want it back? If it's so great, leave me out of it. I moved out with Denny, swiftly finding a place in the city. We used to live far from downtown because I wanted Lisa to get more sleep. Her workplace was in an out-of-the-way area. Now, I didn't have to drive 2 hours to and from work. Tiredly revise proposals after a long day. Felt fantastic. I blocked Lisa everywhere. Before, she used to block me. I wondered how she'd feel now when seeing the red exclamation marks. But I couldn't care less. Work was crazy busy, with a huge project keeping me occupied. Then, one weekend, Lisa's friend called, saying something serious happened at her home and she wanted to see me. I didn't entirely believe it but knew we had to meet again. To end this. To root out this 3-year relationship for good. When I arrived, Lisa was cooking. I never let her do that when we were together. She looked worn out, her swollen eyes revealing she had cried hard. Lisa told me her dad got framed for fraud and jailed. Her mom fell ill and ended up in the hospital. Listening to all that, my heart weighed heavy. Ending things wasn't simple anymore. I used connections to get the best lawyer and accompanied Lisa to see her mom in the hospital. For a month, it was back and forth between court and the hospital. Surprisingly, Leo was nowhere to be seen during all of this. He only showed up on the day they released Lisa's dad. From a distance, I couldn't hear what they said, but Lisa was upset, likely blaming him. She had never argued with Leo before. This was the first time. But I just stood there holding a cup of coffee, watching quietly from a distance. It had nothing to do with me anymore. After they finished talking, Leo left. Lisa came over to me, her eyes a bit red. After gathering herself for a while, she finally spoke. "Evan, I'm sorry." Those 3 words were so light, they barely took any effort to say. But I endured immense pain. Over those days, my heart had been cut open, shattered, smoothed, and finally put back together. That "I'm sorry" was the last thing I needed. I took Lisa home. As I was about to leave, she suddenly rushed over and hugged me. She wanted me to bring Denny back. Her tone was pleading, as humble as I once was. But I couldn't let her be like I used to be, because I knew how unbearable it felt. I calmed Lisa down and promised that she could ask me for help in the future if she ever needed it. But her tears wouldn't stop. So I went to the room to find some tissues for her. Walking into the study, I was a little stunned. It was no longer arranged as it used to be. The succulents I kept on the windowsill were gone, replaced by basketball-themed curtains. The whole room was filled with a men's cologne I didn't recognize. There was a pair of leather shoes by the bookcase, Leo's. I recognized them. He had shown them off on Twitter. They were a birthday gift Lisa picked out specifically for him. I was only surprised for a moment and then grabbed the tissues from the desk. I should have seen it coming. Lisa appeared behind me, softly calling my name, seeming a little flustered and trying to explain. "Didn't I tell you Leo had a financial crisis? While you were away, I thought the study was just sitting empty." I turned around, handed her the tissues, but her tears had already dried. "Make sure Leo sends me the rent," I said, and left without looking back. Lisa began showing up outside my office building more frequently. She would bring packed lunches to my desk during lunchtime and wait at the office entrance for me after work. The lunches were filled with authentic spicy dishes. I refused several times, but she persisted. One day while getting coffee, I overheard colleagues whispering, "It's funny. We've worked with Evan for so long, and this is the first time we've seen his girlfriend. Yeah, we've only ever seen Evan post about her on Twitter. Never seen her come to the office before." I stepped in to correct them. Not my girlfriend anymore. I used to visit Lisa's office too, driving over to have lunch with her and picking her up with flowers at the end of the day. I thought girls liked that. But Lisa thought I was too clingy, that I didn't give her enough personal space, and told me not to show up at her workplace anymore. Yet, it was until one day I realized that she didn't want me to pick her up because Leo was there. I was insanely jealous, but Lisa just said, "Leo doesn't suffocate me like you do." Thinking of these things, I wanted to laugh. She always dressed up the concept of boundaries as something righteous, even justified. Another night after work, it began to rain heavily. I submitted the project for the boss to review and prepared to leave. A female colleague asked if I minded walking with her since she didn't have an umbrella. I knew her. She was quiet and in the marketing department. In the past, I would have worried about Lisa overthinking, but now I just saw it as helping someone out. I agreed and we walked side by side. As we stepped out the company door, I saw Lisa waiting there. She looked a bit displeased, with a hint of questioning in her expression, but still approached. "I've got my car. I can drive you home," she said. I waved the umbrella in my hand. "No need, besides, I promised someone else." When I got home, Lisa texted me. She said she finally understood how I felt back then. I didn't reply. She wouldn't understand. Her feelings weren't even a fraction of mine. Life went on as usual. Lisa continued doing the same things, making lunches, waiting for me after work. She even took an interest in Denny, which was rare. She asked what brand of dog food Denny liked, bought various toys, and volunteered to take him for walks. Turns out she could do all these things. What were those past days about, then? In front of Leo, she ignored me and Denny. I never imagined that one day my status with Lisa would flip. But facing her enthusiasm, I couldn't muster the energy to engage. Finally, on a rainy evening, she showed up at my door in a seductive dress, soaking wet, seemingly drunk, and started recounting endless thoughts of missing me. That's when I realized this needed to end. Fearing she'd catch a cold, I let her in, gave her a towel, and made ginger tea for her. I hoped when this relationship ended, we'd both leave it with some grace. "Evan, you still care about me, right?" Lisa half lay on the sofa, her eyes lingering on me with an indescribable emotion. I couldn't meet her gaze. I knew what caring felt like. It was those restless nights filled with uncertainty. It was being so sensitive that her every move tugged at my heart. It was being covered in scars yet still choosing to give. But it wasn't this feeling now. Before I could speak, Lisa's phone lit up. I accidentally glanced over as it buzzed incessantly. The same old screen, Leo and Lisa's photo together, Lisa's smile bright and joyful. I put on a smile, signaling for her to answer it. "Looks like you should deal with your things first." That night, I insisted on driving Lisa back home. After dealing with all my work matters at the company, I took a break to avoid seeing Lisa again. But she remained persistent. She texted, called, even reached out to my friends. Eventually, she even contacted my family. I had talked about Lisa countless times to my parents, praising her in every way to leave a good impression. They wanted to meet my girlfriend, but Lisa never agreed. I once begged her to meet my parents. She always said she didn't have time and to wait a little longer. That wait stretched to 2 years. I later realized she simply didn't want to meet them. She had time to hang out with Leo under the guise of friendship, and time to go to baseball games he liked, but never time to visit my parents with me. When my parents arrived, Lisa was with them, looking pleased. It seemed they were charmed by her. When I walked in, my parents had smiles plastered on their faces. During dinner, Lisa kept up the image of the perfect girlfriend. She placed food on my plate and casually shared all my little habits, making my parents laugh with her jokes. Only I knew how much I'd longed for this scene. But now it just scared me. After dinner, I pulled Lisa into a room. "Dinner's done," I said. "You should leave and don't contact my parents again." Lisa looked shocked, then got really upset. She probably didn't expect me to be this cold. "Evan, just because of what happened with Leo, you're shutting me out?" she exclaimed. "Weren't you understanding before? You used to tolerate me, right?" As soon as she said it, she realized her mistake and stopped talking. But in my mind, I could hear the rest of her thought. "Why can't you keep tolerating me now? Keep watching as I lean toward Leo and still spoil me? Why can't you keep watching me reminisce about my first love? Get jealous for me, lose your mind over it? Why can't you hold on for a little longer?" Turns out she knew all along. She wasn't oblivious to my tolerance, which is why she kept pushing my limits. She wasn't clueless about boundaries. She just thought I could handle her, so she kept hurting me. So when I was alone, facing surgery, staring death in the face, she was with her drunk ex, not a call all night. She could reminisce on those shameless good times right in front of me. With a loud slam, I pushed Lisa out and shut the door hard. Finally, the world felt quiet. In the days that followed, as I hoped, Lisa didn't disrupt my life anymore. But Leo started messaging often, mostly about how Lisa was doing. Apparently, she locked herself up in our old apartment, refusing to see anyone, didn't eat or drink, looking worse by the day. One day, Leo called, and I heard Lisa's faint voice on the other side. "Evan, can I see you one last time?" Panic hit me. Worried she might do something drastic, I rushed to where Leo said she was. When I arrived, I realized it was the park where Lisa and I had our first date. This was where I sincerely confessed to her, saying I'd love and protect her forever. But after everything, the once poorly kept park had been refurbished, replaced by towering buildings. The old, run-down playground equipment lay abandoned, full of holes, just like the state of my feelings for Lisa. Lisa seemed to have aged overnight. Seeing her condition, I knew Leo hadn't been lying. But there was no pity, only guilt and helplessness. She forced a smile and asked if I remembered this place. Of course, I remembered, but it wasn't worth reminiscing about, was it? Staring at her expectant eyes, that was all I could think to say. She nodded, disappointed. Leo grabbed my collar, eyes fierce, teeth clenched. "How can you treat her like this? Look at her." In response, I punched him hard. "I'm done with you, Leo." Felt good, a relief long overdue. The truth is, I always knew about Leo and Lisa's past. We were classmates. I watched them fall in love in college, only to separate post-graduation due to a long-distance relationship that didn't work. After we graduated, I thought Lisa and I would be like countless college friends, drift apart and never cross paths, like parallel lines, until we unexpectedly met again in this city. We began connecting again, starting as friends. She'd argue with him. I'd be there for her. They'd reconcile. I'd be happy for her. Then she went through a breakup. On a pouring, stormy night, she cried until she couldn't breathe. That's when I found she'd already taken a place in my heart. I swore to help her get past this, to help her become better. In this city, we worked hard together, from having nothing to making progress. Only then did I confess my feelings. When I did, she giggled, teasingly saying, "I knew you liked me long ago." While we were together, we did all the regular couple things, dining, movies, walking around, and we were each other's shelter through the storms, moving forward together. We had many unforgettable moments. I thought we'd continue loving each other forever, until Leo came back into her life. Maybe Leo's job relocation had him here, or maybe he couldn't let go of Lisa and came to this city for her. After he returned, things in our relationship started going downhill, fast like riding a slide. But was letting go of Leo really so hard for Lisa? I guess not really. She's used to enjoying my love while still shamelessly reminiscing about the good old days. Being let down time and again left me feeling pretty low about Lisa. So I'm done. Since the big deal from last time went through, I got recognition from the boss. He wants to promote me to the company's main office. That's in a big city. I had a similar chance before, but I turned it down flat. I just couldn't bear the thought of putting Lisa through the whole long-distance thing again, even though I knew I'd handle it way better than Leo ever did. Still, I couldn't bring myself to do it. Any piece of Lisa that was broken, I was willing to help put back together. Every bitter and sweet moment she went through, I was ready to cherish. So, I never let Lisa in on this. But somehow, the opportunity circled back to me, and I had no good reason to stay in the city anymore. This time, I didn't tell Lisa. No need to anymore. But before I left, Lisa came to see me. She brought 2 rings. With a bit of surprise on my face, she handed me the bigger ring and asked if she could propose to me. That one sentence made me realize that maybe Lisa always knew how I felt. She knew, but my love was just dust in her eyes, something she didn't value. She said after this, she wouldn't bother me anymore. I found that pretty funny. Twice, I wanted to propose to her, but both times, she walked away. Once, she left me on a cold operating table, and once, surrounded by fireworks I'd set for her. Twice, I was forgotten on the road we were supposed to travel to happiness. I shook my head. Lisa suddenly burst into tears. Seeing her sobbing like that, I didn't even feel sorry, because I remembered how I'd always held back before. I never shed a tear in front of Lisa. No matter how hurt or troubled I felt, it was all bottled up inside, never passing on bad vibes to her. But being that restrained only got me treated even worse. It's those past moments of myself that deserve sympathy. Lisa, let's part on good terms. This time it's really over. I moved to another city. My career took off and I got to see a much bigger world than I ever thought of before. Every so often, I'd hear about Leo and Lisa from some college buddies. Leo went bust, hit rock bottom. Before, he'd loved posting cryptic stuff online to needle me, but now he's vanished. I figure life ground him down. I also found out Lisa's dating someone new, a guy her family set her up with. I was surprised to hear that. When she was with me, she clung to memories of Leo. Yet after we split, they didn't get back together. Maybe that's how people are, right? We crave what we can't have. On a calm afternoon, I stood in the tallest office building, sipping my coffee, looking down at the city. A message from Lisa popped up. She wrote, "I'm getting married. Can we meet one last time?" She said, "Evan, I hope you can come." I opened my friends list and hit block. Lisa couldn't shake her old habits. And I wasn't about to become Leo.